Hello everyone, welcome to TRG podcast. I am your host Rohit Gaikwad, real estate coach and author. Today we have a special guest, Dr. Atul Deshpande sir, economist, interdisciplinary scholar, having 35 years of experience and associated with COP College as a professor. Sir, I would like to thank you and I wanted to know more about the valuable insights and current trends about the global economy. So, hand over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Rohit sir. I'm absolutely blessed with this kind of invitation to this studio, actually. Today I'm going to speak about uncertainty, future's new normal.
Okay.
Friends, we know that all of us really want certainty. People don't like uncertainty. Why do people not like uncertainty? Because the life is insecure, trade becomes insecure, economy becomes insecure. Overall, different walks of life of human beings become insecure. So, Rohit sir, that is why, everyone likes certainty.
Right.
But every time, everyone may not get certainty
Right.
because uncertainty is a new normal in the future and even today also. So, the first interesting thing I would like to introduce you and to our audience. This entire uncertainty thing is linked up to one term. That term is called VUCA.
Okay.
Rohit sir, VUCA.
Okay.
What does VUCA stand for? VUCA stands for V, volatility or volatile. U, uncertain. C, complex. And A, ambiguity. So look at this VUCA term, VUCA. Entire human life is today, and especially not only human life, but business life is entirely affected by the term VUCA. There are negative impact and effects of VUCA world. Therefore, this VUCA world gives rise to uncertainty. But Rohit sir, I must tell you one thing.
Yes, sir.
There is always a difference between risk and uncertainty.
Okay.
In different walks of basic sciences and especially in statistics and in finance, we always say that risk is something, where actually the probability of any event occurring. So risk can be measured, risk can be estimated, and whatever loss that human beings may face can be estimated and can be protected.
So
that is your risk.
In short, we can say risk can be controlled.
Risk can be controlled.
Right.
But again, for example, let me give you an example. Suppose there is going to be a heavy rainfall.
Right.
So heavy rainfall may affect crop. There would be crop damage.
Right.
So what we can do is we have insurance against crop.
Right.
So we can measure risk of loss of crop. Why crop? You can take, say, accident. Suppose suppose we come across an accident. So in accident, there would be a loss to your life, there would be a loss to your body, anything or any part of your body. You can insure that. So risk is something, Rohit sir, where you can measure it, you can control it. But friends, uncertainty is exactly opposite to risk, where the probability of any event occurring is not known in advance. Therefore, you cannot measure it. For example, suppose I was talking about rainfall or heavy rainfall. When does heavy rainfall exactly occur? We really do not know. We know one thing, that if there is more than normal rainfall, for example, normal rainfall is defined as over 105, percentage of rainfall. So if you exceed that 105, and if there is flood kind of a situation, then your crop will be damaged. But when will that happen? We don't know. That's an uncertain event. When shall we die? When shall we be born? We do not know. But birth is certain, death is certain. But when are you going to have death is not certain, is uncertain. So today, we are essentially, Rohit sir, going to talk about the today's globe is absolutely affected by uncertainty.
Right.
So, just now I have explained to you and our audience the difference between risk and uncertainty. Now I raise one question to you, and I just raise one question. Who causes this uncertainty? So, please note, dear friends, there are controllable variables and there are uncontrollable variables. There are controllable factors which are man made, and there are uncontrollable factors which are natural. Let us look at a few controllable factors where human beings, their deed, their activity is involved. For example, take today's USA President Trump's. Trump has introduced tariff. Now the tariff has brought overall trade war and overall uncertainty. What is his attitude towards China? What is his attitude towards Canada? What is his attitude towards Mexico, etc., etc. So far as the controllable variables are concerned, or those factors which cause uncertainty, you have trade war. What we have is overall geopolitical tensions. We have, wars as such. We have other uncertainties. Suppose people don't want to spend money, people don't want to invest money. So those all internal factors like geopolitical tensions, then trade war, then what we call it as tariff war, then restrictions, controls on trade. This is one side. Whereas there are some factors which are uncontrollable, which are beyond human region or human periphery. They are all natural. Heavy rainfall, floods, cyclones. They damage economy. They damage overall businesses. They damage growth. So these factors actually create overall uncertainty. So now the question is, sir, with these uncertain kind of events actually, what are the sectors which
Right.
are affected through this uncertainty? Now, friends and the audience, I want to tell you that if you look at the economy, if you look at the internal side of economy, internal side you have growth potential is affected. For example, now India's growth has been projected to be at 6.5%, 6.4%. There are many estimations given by many institutions and many organizations. So growth is one. Second one is overall internal trade, overall internal activity. Then individual savings, individual investments. So far as these sectors are concerned, always remember that when I say uncertainty, I have a particular aspect in my mind, and that aspect is there is negative impact of this uncertainty on growth, on savings, on investments, on overall production, on overall services sector, etc., etc. This is one side. If you take the external side, then naturally what comes to your mind? Foreign trade comes to your mind. You have exports, you have imports. Now we know that because of overall uncertainty, say Trump has been increasing taxes on imports. So those countries which are having trade with USA will definitely face problems when they try to export. Similarly, those countries which are importing from America, they need to know how to go in for reciprocal tariff, how to adjust their tariffs. So interestingly, when you look at the external sectors, what comes to your mind? You think of trade, you think of exports, imports. Apart from that, you think of foreign direct investment. You also think of foreign institutional investment. So FPI, FDI, these things are also getting affected. Not only that, overall financial market. Let me give you an example. 2008, we have had a financial crisis. Before 2008, please note, there was a Mexican crisis. Before that, there was a Ponzi scam right from 1920. So when you talk about financial market, capital market, and don't forget labor market also, that is very important. And nowadays, different countries from Europe are migrating to UK. That is why something that has happened is called Brexit actually. One of the reasons why UK came out of Europe was the migratory character of labor. So that labor market is also affected, productivity of labor gets affected because of overall uncertainty. So interestingly, we must know one thing, Rohit sir, that when we talk about the impact of uncertainty on internal sectors as well as on external sectors, the overall idea, a question may come to your mind whether this impact would be uniform on all economies, or there would you get standard impact or such kind of a thing. So to me, I want to tell you that the impact of uncertain events, maybe internal, external, may not be the same.
Right.
For example, you have a group of developed countries, say G7. You have a group of developed countries, G20. Let me tell you, the impact of uncertainty on these developed countries at this point of time would be higher. Why? Because these countries are financially strongly, largely interconnected.
Right.
For example, their dollar reserves are very, very high. Then their assets and the prices of assets are denominated in dollar terms. Therefore, you must have seen that last couple of months, dollar is appreciating.
Right.
And one of the reasons why Trump has gone for tariff kind of a thing, that he does not want dollar to be appreciating, because if dollar appreciates, it is going to affect US's exports.
Right.
So I was telling you that developed countries, the impact would be slightly higher. Second set, what we call it as emerging economies such as India, or other emerging economies like you're talking about Bangladesh, Pakistan, and so on, Sri Lanka, and so on and so forth. These emerging economies, and especially India, we don't have so much of close financial integration with other countries. For example, what is India's share in the trade, or no, in global trade? India's share in the global trade is 1.85, at the most 2%.
Oh.
Also, Turkey, now we have seen in Turkey's case that our businessmen have decided right now
Not
that
to
we will
accept.
boycott
Yeah.
goods from Turkey. But that is also not going to help India to a large extent, because the impact of uncertainty would be relatively less on countries like India. Why? I want to tell the audience why the impact would be less. I'm going to discuss this by taking India's separate case. So here, Rohit sir, I wanted to tell you that the impact would not be the same one. It would not be the uniform one. It will be diverse one. Developed countries are keen to the impact in a slightly stronger way than emerging economies. But you also have the third set of countries, actually, extremely poor countries, less developed countries like African countries,
African,
Latin American countries,
right.
etc. There the impact would be even much higher
Oh.
of uncertainty, because in fact, I would like to tell you, apart from these less developed countries, USA, if you take, USA is a country which is highly dependent on imports. So if overall uncertainty enhances and grows, it is going to affect USA more. So Trump has to think about it several times, in my opinion. So friends, I was talking about the impact of uncertainty on various countries. The impact, especially economic impact, would not be uniform one, would be diverse one, depending upon, please remember, depending upon how much close association your country has with global trade, number one. How much close association your country has in terms of global investment, in terms of holding global assets, in terms of holding dollar reserves, etc. Those countries which have less association, so far as these four factors are concerned, naturally their impact or impact of uncertainty on them would be lesser. Now, the real question, Rohit sir, is that suppose this uncertainty keeps on spreading a lot, then overall, generally, do you not think that countries should do something?
Wait. If you are investor or industrialist looking for clear title agriculture or industrial plot across Pune, Mumbai and Konkan region, then do contact us for verified legally clear land parcels. हमेशा याद रखिए, लैंड इज लिमिटेड. अगर आपने नहीं खरीदा तो वो किसी और की अमानत होगी. अगर आपको अपनी लैंड बेचनी है या खरीदनी है तो डिस्क्रिप्शन बॉक्स एंड कमेंट में लिंक दी है, उस पर क्लिक कीजिए, फॉर्म सबमिट कीजिए, हमारी टीम आपको कांटेक्ट करेगी. थैंक यू.
So,
How to control this?
yeah, absolutely. What should countries do actually? When we talk about this uncertainty, first, those factors which are very, very important from growth point of view, like savings and investment, you should tighten these factors. You should monitor savings properly. You should monitor capex, what we call it as capital expenditure, properly. So growth monitoring and growth monitoring against inflation, which factors cause inflation, how to stabilize inflation, that is one issue that these countries should look at. Also, audience, you must know that the world today, because of this VUCA, which I have already talked about, country like America, experiencing fall in consumption demand. So, Rohit sir, I wanted to tell you one more thing, that overall consumption demand should be stabilized. Then overall regulatory framework should be stabilized. For example, in the context of India, we need agriculture reforms, we need labor reforms, we need reforms in Company Act of 2013, we need reforms through SEBI, so we need reforms through Money Laundering Act. So if these countries, especially developed countries and developing countries and also least developed countries, if they want to overcome the possibility of uncertainty and its impact, they should stabilize the macro dimensions. And here, audience, I want to give you an idea about India. Where does, in this global scenario, India stand? Why are we saying that India is fourth largest, fourth largest economy, or fast growing economy, and she will have almost what we call it as by 2030, she will have more than $7 trillion of income. Today we are into $3.83 trillion of income. India, the overall impact of uncertainty, dear viewers, I want to tell you, the impact of uncertainty would be relatively less. I'm not saying that it will not affect, it will certainly affect. But why will it not have greater room to impact the Indian scenario, economic scenario? These are 4 or 5 reasons. The first, India's macro fundamentals are very strong. For example, GDP, and rest of the things. Overall, our savings ratio to GDP is also strong. Apart from that, we are now, especially, we are introducing new reforms, and these reforms are paying us a lot. At the same time, please note that so far as productivity of labor factor or agriculture or other sectors are concerned, there is room for India to develop. But last couple of years, India's services sector is especially growing a lot. But at the same time, why is India not have to face this uncertainty to a large extent? Because India's exposure to the world in terms of global trade, in terms of global investments, in terms of asset holding, dollar reserves, etc., is comparatively less. And at the same time, I must tell you that if you look at financial market and if you look at the banking sector in India, those sectors are also very strong. So with these strengths actually, and now that on one hand you have China having economic or trade war with USA, and those companies are now who have a fear that this trade war will continue between US and China, those companies are turning their necks and they are preferring Indian market. So if these companies are going to be there in Indian market, naturally India will have greater FDIs. For example, in last 3 months, the overall FDI, I must give you the statistics, 16,800 crores of rupees of FDIs have come. No doubt that we have lot of room to improve. I'm not saying that India has been doing extremely well. But at the same time, when we ask this question, whether uncertainty is going to affect us to a large extent, like it is affecting America, it is affecting Europe, it is affecting Canada, if it is affecting Mexico and rest of the countries, but it will not affect to that extent the Indian scenario. That is why, in one sense, we are much, much more fortunate than these countries. But Rohit sir,
So here I would like to ask about the recent India-Pakistan war impact on the
yeah.
economy.
Now, so far as is a good question actually, because first of all, you know, the impact of the war between it's not actually war, but kind of tension actually between Pakistan and India, Rohit sir. There is certainly going to be an impact on the overall Indian scenario in terms of increasing expenditure on defense. Number one. Number two, reallocation of funds from more developed purposes to slightly war purposes. So to that extent, it will have an impact. At the same time, through trade actually, like recently we have signed a pact with UK. That pact is going to be materialized in 9 to 10 months from now, or it will take slightly 15 months of time. So if we simultaneously, if we keep on signing trade pacts, etc., and do certain things, the war between Pakistan and India, or that geopolitical tension, is always there. We have not said that we have stopped this. So some of the expenditure will be incurred on defense, overall protection, etc. To that extent, we need to reallocate funds from budgetary provision. We need to go. But when it comes to trade, actually, like it has happened with Turkey and Uzbekistan and other countries where we have, and also it will affect tourism to some extent. For example, Kashmir and Jammu Kashmir, Srinagar, and this north belt actually of this country, certainly hoteling, especially tourism and hotel industry, will definitely have some impact. But I feel that this impact will be receded slowly over a time period. So I was thinking of one more thing before that you asked me this question, that how would this impact our commoner actually, common person? Because common people are more tensed when war breaks out. Common people are more and more worried about their day-to-day living, number one, their saving potential, number two, their investment ideas, number three, then their overall standard of living, then the poverty, then inequality, these all the aspects. Look, I must tell you one interesting thing. Overall uncertainty definitely affects economic activity. And through that economic activity, individuals' life definitely gets affected. For example, per capita income of individuals drops. Then saving potential drops. Then prices in your country would go up. To that extent, real value of your money collapses. Real sector would go up. For example, I must tell you that 5% of tax announcement by Trump administration on repatriation will certainly have a negative impact. So in our eyes, those who send money from America, or say from rest of the countries, to India, is naturally going into real sector. So that money and that flow going into the real sector will be affected. So to that extent, real sector prices may go up. But it has been said that One of the studies recently, prepared and made says that all these investments into real sector are now coming from local sources rather than foreign sources. So if local sources we enhance more in the future, then this 5% kind of tax by Trump administration on repatriated money will not affect our economy or our real sector much. But so then the question comes, if overall uncertainty, as I told you in my at the start, nobody likes uncertain life, nobody likes uncertainty. So what should individuals do? Number one, one takeaway for individuals and common people: just be judicious, just be calculated. When you I'm giving you an example. When you invest into fixed income assets. If you want to take risk by investing money into mutual funds, be selective about mutual funds. Or senior citizens, I must tell you, senior citizens are putting more and more money into senior citizen schemes or say provident funds. That investment is really, really good. But at the same time, individuals must cut down cut down unwarranted expenditures, what we call it as conspicuous consumption. It should be cut down. You please try to improve your life and standard of living by cutting your cloth according to the size of your coat or according to the size of your body. So if it is saving, if it is expenditure, take part in more and more trade, work sincerely, work hard overall. And one more interesting thing, especially against the background of the application of AI, and there's a big change, technological change. If you look at the increasing possibility of employment and other things, you must develop your skills. How to develop your skills? You have to be tech savvy. You have to be financially inclusive. You have to be technologically inclusive. So, my sincere request, Rohit sir, to common people is that do not get upset unnecessarily, do not get tensed unnecessarily. Think of what you are working, how you are working, whether you are productive or not. Also, please look at the cooperative institution, look at the startup, the way they are growing, look at the MSMEs in India, that the way they are growing. So I sincerely feel, audience, that you need to be very, very optimistic, you need to be very, very positive in life. Things come and go, like this whole uncertainty has begun in the year 1971, when America withdrew gold standard from the dollar. And now today you can see people are talking about de-dollarization, etc., etc. But as an economist and as a student of economics, I don't think that dollar will lose its ground. Although we are talking about renminbi or Chinese yuan currency, or we are talking about other currencies. One more interesting thing, against the background of this overall uncertainty, that you should take into consideration is that India has started signing trade and currency agreements with 22 countries where people will use their own currencies. If that is going to happen, then slowly we may try to come out. And also, interestingly, when it comes to India, India is heavily dependent upon crude oil, imports of crude oil, imports of energy, imports of other like natural gas. So over the years, if you want to come out of this uncertainty, your reliance, your dependence, Rohit sir, on energy, on gas, on crude oil, on the rest of the country should be reduced. So there are ways, audience, there are ways to overcome this uncertainty. But keep one thing in mind and be sure about it. What is that, Rohit sir? That uncertainty is now the future's new normal.
New normal.
And with this new normal, I have already said that this is not something that just now it has come up. Since 1971, then the Mexican crisis, then the 2008 crisis, and now that we are into trade war, world war, etc., etc., naturally, we need to be more care. And it just not, I must, from audience's point of view, I must tell, it's just not the government's responsibility. It is private individuals' responsibility. What India really wants is increase in private capital expenditure. Over the years, India must do well in agricultural sector. India must do well in the services sector. And never forget, India must do well in the manufacturing sector. Though the overall trend in the globe is that developed countries are moving away from the manufacturing sector and concentrating more in services sector, India has also been doing the same thing in last 2.5 or 3 years. But over the years, we cannot forget the manufacturing sector. Therefore, Rohit sir, in our today's talk, the most interesting thing that we have asked, and you have asked to me, about the overall uncertainty and the globe and why it is called new normal. So I have already explained to you that this is a scenario. So we are not at all pessimistic. We are optimistic. We are positive. So with this positive note, I think we will close down here.
Okay. Sir, thank you once again for the insightful, the information, knowledge sharing. And I hope our subscriber got maximum value through this podcast. In case of any query, you can drop your questions or messages inside the comment box. We will try to convey those messages to sir, and we'll try to get back as soon as possible. Thank you once again for this wonderful journey, we can say. And kindly share, subscribe, like. We will provide the contact details of sir. In case of any communication or in case of any opportunity, you can directly connect with Dr. Atul Deshpande sir for more valuable content. Stay tuned. Thank you.